Well, we have a special speaker right now, so if I could have your attention. I'll hold this for you.
Okay. I'll talk on this thing very well. Thank you for my birthday party. I'm very proud of all of you. I thank you very much for coming. You're my best friends and relatives, and I know you came a long way to do it, and I really appreciate that. And I hope you have a very nice time in Portland. Have a good time and enjoy all the nice things that you can see in Portland.
Thank you, Mother. And next we have Mom's niece, Mary Jane.
Yeah, the answer girl. Watch it.
Mary Jane Maid, Mom's niece.
Well, I'm her niece, but more like a sister. Dorothy was always more like a sister to me than an aunt, and I was always so proud of her. I wanted to be a dietitian like her, but I made a C in chemistry, and I'd never done that before, so I gave that up. But she's always been wonderful to me, and we've always been happy to have her, and I'm so glad to be part of the Brady bunch. Thank you for having me.
So we'd like to get on with a couple more toasts here, and I'm getting on this list, and we've revised it a couple of times. I hope I don't miss anybody, but the next on my list is Maggie O'Sullivan, Anita's daughter. Maggie?
Dorothy, it's great to be here tonight in Maine, a place that's very special to me. I went to college here, and an important part of the story is that I don't like lobster, and I lived in Maine for 4 years. So I work in education, and I know how important it is for each child to be invested in very individually. And some people might joke about Dorothy a little bit, maybe behind your back or to your face, I'm sure. And we witnessed this several times this weekend. And I personally witnessed it with Lou. Usually she starts at the top of the lineup, which is Anita, and then works her way to the child. So that would be like, Anita, Bob, John, Mike, no, and working all the way to the child she gets to. But this time she started at Bob and worked her way through to Lou, but she got to Lou. The point is that she might forget your name in an instant, but she knows exactly who you are. And she knows what you need to work on. And in my case, this included my tennis game, my golf game, my handwriting, my spelling on my thank you notes. And so I got a lot of feedback. And the feedback is very important. And so I am very thankful for the feedback and for the way that you invested in each of us as an individual. And it really came through in this moment here in Maine. Well, actually, I wasn't in Maine, but I was coming to Maine for my 20th college reunion. And I'm competitive, just like all of you, and I think my grandma is kind of the best grandma. You know, you want to go ahead toe-to-toe? So, you're my age, do you have a grandma? Okay, so you got her, so how old is she? I usually win on this point, okay? I usually win on this point, but if I don't, I say, well, does she email you from her iPad? And then they say, really? But she emailed me from her iPad. I said, I'm coming to Maine for my college reunion. And she, unlike the rest of my family that always tries to make me eat the lobster, she emails me one line, Maggie, You want to come out for some lobster in Maine? Ha, ha, ha. From my iPad, Dorothy. She takes a note of each of us. She invests. She is amazing. And you have had many great investments in your life. And I hope that all of us, all of the grandchildren, that you feel that your investments are paying off, because we do our best and we are very, very grateful for your investments in us. Thank you, Dorothy.
Okay, our next toast is from an honorary child. 50 years ago, our family hosted a foreign exchange student from France, and Michelle has remained close to the family ever since. She and her husband have come from the French Riviera, and she would like to offer a toast. Michelle?
Well, Dorothy, I want to thank you today for all you've done for me and hosting me for a year and accepting me as another child in your family. I think it was one of the most significant years in all my life. And I totally agree with your grandchildren who say you have invested so much in each of us. I've always admired your sense of responsibility, your sense of organization, and the attention and care you took for every one of us. I remember a little story that happened with one of your daughters. I won't mention her name. One night she invited me on the upper porch to smoke a cigarette. And a couple of seconds later, you came, you were mad, of course, and you said, I smell smoke. And you explained, you kept cool and explained, well, Michelle, I don't want any of my children to smoke. I know it's bad for your health. And at that moment, I realized authority was more than something that's imposed on you. I dimly understood at the time that it meant real concern and caring love. And ever since, from the very beginning, I trusted you, and I thought I'd try to do my best to be trustworthy. And I'm so glad I shared that year with all of you, and you've brought so much to me, and I'm glad we kept in touch all throughout these years. Well, a very happy birthday.
Next we have Louis. Moving into the home stretch here. Well, first of all, Maggie, Mom's tutelage paid off for you, because we were the winners of the golf tournament today. Maggie was on my team. And Maggie was a big part of that team, driving it down, straight down the fairway, all day long. Okay, but my remembrance highlights three of Mom's best traits. She's always been and continues to be thoughtful, generous, and adventurous. One year when I was younger, she exhibited all three of those traits in a big way. We had always had Christmas in Titusville with various family members, but now that the older siblings had families of their own, they wanted to spend their Christmases at home. So Mom and Dad were living in Florida at the time, pretty much full time. And Lisa and I, for the first time in our lives, were wondering what are we going to do for Christmas? But we didn't have to wonder for very long. About October, Mom and Dad invited us on the trip of a lifetime. This Christmas, we were going on an exotic vacation on a discovery cruise through the Panama Canal. The ship was small, which allowed us to travel close to the islands and visit with the natives. And of course, the first order of business was Dad made us read the book, The Path Between the Seas by David McCulloch. That was always Dad's thing. He was a big traveler. He wanted us to read before we went. And I'm glad I did, because it really displayed the remoteness of the area. So at various times during the trip, I felt a little like James Bond, a native tourist, a naive tourist, or Indiana Jones. The night we arrived in Panama City, we gambled in the casino, my first time in a casino, and I won a couple $100, and I went home with a couple beautiful women, Lisa and Mom. The next morning, we toured the city with the ship's escorts, and when I wandered off by myself for a few minutes, the guys grabbed me up and said, "Hey, get back with the group, or you're going to be a gringo on a stick." But once we actually started our tour, it was just total wilderness. We traveled through the jungle. We went to both sides of the canals and visited the islands, beautiful islands on the Caribbean and the Pacific. We took a river tour into an indigenous village straight out of National Geographic. We spent time with the Kuna Indians in the San Blas Islands, buying molas right from the Indians themselves. No stores there, just right out of the grass huts. It was that kind of trip. And another great part of the trip was when Lisa and I spent a lot of time in the evenings with the crew. They were adventurous travelers our age who were just taking a year off, living the life, traveling the world, just enjoying themselves and seeing the world. It was that kind of trip, up close and personal, and one great memory with Mom and Dad and Lisa that I will always remember, I will cherish forever. So, thank you, Mom. Your thoughtfulness and generosity continues, and good luck with your adventure into the next century.